Chapter 9. The House of the Three Bears. Beth took a cushion, put it at the top of the slide and pushed off. Down she went, whiz! She shot to the bottom, flew out of the trapdoor and landed on the cushion of the moss. She'd hardly got up before Franny flew out of the trapdoor too. You know, that slippery slip is the greatest fun, said Beth. I'd like to do it all day long. If only we didn't have to climb all the way up the tree first, said Franny. The trapdoor flew open and out shot Moonface on a yellow cushion. He put the 3 cushions together, whistled to the red squirrel, who looked after them, and threw them up to him. Then he turned to the girls. There's a train wait at midnight. Shall we hurry? The wood was still bright with moonlight. The 3 of them hurried between the trees. Suddenly Beth heard the chuffing of a train, and she and Franny stopped in surprise. They saw a small train winding in and out of the trees, looking for all the world like an old-fashioned clockwork toy train, made big. The engine even had a key in the side, as if it was all a wind-up. There was a small station nearby. Moonface caught hold of the girl's hands and ran to it. The train was standing quite there. The carriages had tin doors and windows which didn't open, just like those of a clockwork train. Beth tried her hardest to open a door, but it was no use. The train whistled. It was anxious to be off. Don't you know how to get into this station? Asked Moonface with a laugh. You are sillies. You just slide off the roof. As he spoke, he pushed at the roof, and it slid off like a roof of a toy train's carriage. I think this is just a clockwork train made big, said Franny, climbing over the side of the carriage and getting in at the roof. I never saw such a funny train in my life. They all got in. Moonface couldn't seem to slide the roof on again properly, so he stood up inside the carriage. And when the train went off, Beth and Franny, who couldn't possibly see out of the windows, stood up and looked out of the room instead. They all looked very funny. The next station, which was called the Dole Station, 3 dolls got into the carriage and stared at them very hard. One was so like Beth's old doll at home that she couldn't help staring back. The second station was called Crossbar Station, and standing next to the railway tracks were 3 of the crossest looking old women that the girls had ever seen. One of them got into their carriage, and the 3 dolls at once got out and climbed into the next one. Move up, said the Crosspatch angrily to Moonface. He moved up. The Crosspatch was an uncomfortable person to travel with. She grumbled all the time, and the basket, which was full of prickly bunches of roses, kept bumping onto poor Franny. Here we are, sang Moonface when they got to the next station, and the 3 of them got out gladly, leaving the Crosspatch grumbling away to herself. The station was called Bear Station, and there was a great many teddy bears about, some brown, pink, some blue, and some white. When they wanted to talk to one another, they kept pressing themselves in the middle, where the button that made them talk was, and they could talk quite well. Franny wanted to giggle when she saw them doing this. It did look so funny. Please, could you tell me the way to the 3 bears' house? Moonface asked a blue teddy bear politely. The bear pressed himself in the middle and answered in a nice growly voice. Up the lane and down the lane and round the lane. Thank you, said Moonface. Sounds a bit funny to me, said Beth doubtfully. Oh, not at all, said Moonface, leading them up the little lane through the honeysuckle. Here we are, going up a lane, and now you'll see it goes downhill, and we're going down. And presently we'll turn a corner and go around the lane. He was right. They went up, and then they went around, and then at the front of them, tucked into a woody corner, was the dearest, prettiest little house the girls had ever seen. It was covered with pink roses from the top to the bottom, and its tiny windows winked in the moonlight as if they had eyes. Moonface knocked at the door. A deep growly voice cried, Come in! Moonface opened the door, and all they went in. There was a table in front of them, and on it were 3 steaming bowls of what some people call porridge, and some call oatmeal, and round it were 3 chairs, one big, one middle-sized, and one small. It's the house of 3 bears, all right, whispered Beth excitedly. It was just like seeing a fairy tale come true. We're here, said the voice from another room. Moonface went in with Beth and Franny. The other room was a small bedroom, with a big bed in it, a middle-sized bed, and in it a cot, which was the most adorable little bear, with the bluest eyes the girls had ever seen. Where's Goldilocks? Said Moonface. Gone shopping, said the father bear. Where does she sleep when she's here? Asked Beth, looking round. And does she always live with you now? Always, said the father bear, putting his big nightcap straight. She looks after us very well. There's a market on tonight in the Enchanted Wood, and she's gone to see if she can buy some of those porridge cheap. As for where she sleeps, well, she just chooses any of the beds, you know, and we cuddle up together. But she likes the baby bears best, because it's so soft and warm. She did in the story, said Franny. What story? Said the mother bear. Well, the story of the 3 bears, said Franny. Never heard of it, said the 3 bears all together, which really seemed quite extraordinary to Beth and Franny. They didn't like to ask any more questions after that. Here's Goldilocks now, said Mother Bear. The sound of the little high voice could be heard coming nearer and nearer. The baby bear sprang out of his cot and ran down into the door in delight. Pretty little girl with long curly golden hair picked him up and hugged him. "Hello, dearest," she said. "Have you been a good bear?" Then she saw Beth, Franny and Moonface and stared at them surprised. "Who are you?" she said. Moonface explained about Joe and how he'd gone to the land of ice and snow, where the big white bears live. "I'm afraid the magic snowman will make him a prisoner there," said Moonface, "and we'll have to live with the white bears. Could you get your 3 bears to come with us and ask the white bears to let Joe go free, Goldilocks?" "But I don't know the way," said Goldilocks. "We do," said Father Bear suddenly. "The white bear's a cousin of ours, Moonface. If you can help us with a little bit of magic, we can visit the land of ice and snow in a few minutes." "Good gracious," said Beth, astonished. "But it's ever so far away, right at the top of the far tree." "Oh, that doesn't matter," said Father Bear. He took down a large jar from the mantelpiece and filled it with water. He put into it yellow powder and stirred it with a big black crow's feather. Moonface put his hands into the water and began to sing a string of some strange words that Beth and Franny quite trembly. The water bubbled. It rose up to the top of the jar. It overflowed and ran onto the floor. It turned into ice beneath their feet. A cold wind filled the little house, and everyone shivered. Then Beth looked out of the window, and what she saw there filled her with such amazement that she couldn't say a word, but just pointed. Franny looked too, and whatever do you think? Outside lay nothing but ice and snow, and they were in the same land as Joe. Though how this happened, neither Beth nor Franny could actually make out. "We're there," said Moonface, taking his hands out of the jar and drying them on his red handkerchief. "Can you lend us any coats, bears? We shall be cold here." The mother bear handed them thick coats out of a cupboard. They put them on. The bears already had thick fur and didn't need any at all. "Now, to go and find Joe," said Moonface. "Come on, bears, you've got to help."